So we are in the e-mobility in Malaga, and now we have our highlight with us, Carlos Tavares. Welcome.
Thank
Benvido.
you. Thank you. Good afternoon to all of you. Thank you.
We want to discuss with you the current situation of the, let's say, e-mobility. Is it called the Congress? So e-mobility in the sense of electric mobility, which is one of the main solutions, let's say, for sustainable mobility. We have seen in the last years that Europe is struggling with the volumes, with the figures, and there's like a claim that e-mobility is still too expensive. What can the manufacturers in Europe, in general speaking, what can they do? We have been seeing also some announcements that there will be this a little bit more affordable. Do you think is it possible? European electric manufacturers.
Well, thank you for asking this important question. I think there was a big problem of governance in the European Union about the way all of this was decided. This problem of governance is now visible in terms of consequences on the fact that indeed electric mobility is too expensive for the middle classes. And of course, as a democratic free country we are, we cannot accept that mobility is reduced for the middle classes because it's too expensive. So indeed, the EU leadership forgot what everybody was telling them when they made the decision, which is that e-mobility has been so far 40 to 50% more expensive than conventional mobility. And that's the problem. The problem to be solved is the problem of cost of mobility. And of course, we do not accept that middle classes are prevented from being mobile just because the mobility is clean but too expensive. That's the problem to be solved. Now, there are a lot of solutions, and here in the world of mobility, we have been discussing many solutions. This is not a problem without solutions. This is a problem about how do we help the European Union governance to step out from this decision without losing too much their face. They will lose their face in a way or another, but how can we help them to change the direction and be more pragmatic and less dogmatic, be more realistic, connected to the reality of the lifestyle of the people, and mostly the middle class people? And we have been discussing many solutions here, and they are solutions. That's not the problem. It's more about how do you find a way for the EU leadership to step out of the current very, very dogmatic path in which they put themselves alone. Problem.
So we're talking about the electric mobility as one of the solutions. You were explaining now about the EU and the decision to ban the combustion engines after 2035. There was a change of mind, let's say, end of last year. So there is a little bit opening, and without losing this phase. Is that something what you think it's getting better now?
Well, it is. It's quite surprising. Yes, there was some discussions about eventually going from 100% zero-emission vehicle sales in 2035 down to 90%. Actually, I think that this direction is a lose-lose-lose.
Okay.
I think it's very bad. And I will explain you why. But I want to be positive and tell you there are solutions, very easy solutions. They already exist. But in this situation, the EU is trying to fix a problem while creating another problem. There is always a side effect of what they try to decide, because they are disconnected from reality. So why is this direction a lose-lose-lose? For the planet, whatever you do to postpone the zero-emission ramp-up is, of course, negative for the planet. So whatever you do to postpone is a negative for the planet. So it's a lose for the planet. If you talk about the European Union governance, it is also a lose, because they have to change the decision they have already made. They are already very weak. So each time they lose their face, they become weaker. that's not good for the quality of the governance and the leadership of Europe. So it's a lose. And for the OEMs, yes, instead of selling 100% of cars electric, you only have to sell 90%. Well, from an investment and technology and validation standpoint, it's the same. 90 or 100% is the same thing. But in addition, you have to keep carrying the validation and the development of other technologies. So it's more complexity, it's more cost. So it's a lose for the OEMs. So everybody is losing. And of course, it has been crafted in terms of communication as, yes, we become realistic, etc. Well, that's not at all true. This is a new decision trying to correct a mistake that creates other side effects. And each time they do so, they are creating more and more problems, more and more chaos. And that's a problem for us Europeans. So the solution is very simple. The first thing we have to admit is that we need to keep regulations technology neutral, to use the power of our technicians and engineers to find the best solution for the planet, the people, and the society, which is the best impact for the planet, keeping mobility affordable, and making sure that at the end of the day we can manage the transition. The solution is very easy. We have to drop the dogmatic thinking about we don't want any more internal combustion engines, because they can be very efficient. If they are used in a mild hybrid solution, you can easily say, well, let's take back clunkers. We have 1.6 billion cars with internal combustion engines in operations on the planet. Right? So what do you do with those? What do we do with 1.6 billion cars? Well, there is no answer to this question. So what we think we should be doing is give us back the clunkers with more than 20 years of age. Most probably those cars with an internal combustion engine are above 300 grams per kilometer of CO2 emissions. And I will give you a trade-in subsidy for those clunkers. With that trade-in subsidy, let's say 2,000 euros, you buy a modern mild hybrid, which is less than 100 grams. So you replace a 300 grams plus vehicle by a 100 grams less low vehicle. And with a subsidy of 2,000 for the clunker in the trade-in, and with that money, the middle class can buy a mild hybrid, no problem. And it is 1/3 of the emissions of the clunker. So you are going to impact positively the planet. You are protecting affordability, because mild hybrid is something the middle class can buy. And while you do this, you just consider that EVs for the time being are excellent mobility tools for commuting. So downtown and suburban areas for the commuting, because it's quiet. It has a very nice takeoff acceleration. It's very agile. The handling is very nice because the height of the center of gravity is very low because the batteries are below the floor. So it's a very nice tool for the mobility in the urban areas. And for those EVs in urban areas, you make free toll, free parking, free charge. And you let the EV ramp up in urban areas on its own merit, which is very silent, very agile, and very clean. And that's good. So you let the EV ramp up as the commuting car, the commuter car for urban areas, but you have to offer free parking, free toll, and free charging. And you allow everybody, the middle class, to buy less than 100 grams per kilometer of CO2 emission cars at a price which is below 20,000 euros. And with that car, you have all the autonomy you want. You can drive your family because most probably you have more than 130 kilowatts or even 150 kilowatts of power. That's far enough for the family use. And by combining the two, you are finding the most affordable solution for the societies in terms of cost. You are taking care of the problem of the clunkers. You are bringing a clean solution for the middle classes. And you ramp up the EV technology with more time for the commuters. And by doing that, you have found a solution which is a very pragmatic. This is not rocket science. And that's the problem.
It sounds easy, yeah?
It sounds simple, right?
Yeah.
It's not rocket science. And why are we stuck? We are stuck because of dogmatism. Nothing more. We are just dogmatic. Step back. Let the guys do the job. Just give an objective in terms of overall average fuel economy number. Force the OEMs to go down progressively. but let them breathe and let them find the right solutions so that it doesn't cost so much to the society.
Sounds very reasonable. Talking about governance and competitiveness, China has had a plan, very strategic, to be leading the supply chain for electric cars, and this has worked for them. They are very competitive, and the prices in China for EVs have went down significantly, and now they're also coming to Europe and other regions in the world. We see that, for example, the US, their reaction to that is impose high tariffs to protect the local OEMs. Europe has been moving between increasing tariffs or actually dealing with them, because actually Europe depends a lot from the export of their own cars. So if you just put tariffs to these cars, at some point you will not be competitive in other parts of the world. So from your point of view, what do you think is the good recept for this, for the European OEMs and for the European industry on this?
Well, the answer that eventually can give you is not an answer that will like, but that's okay. That's okay.
That's what I'm looking for, actually.
That's okay. This is a free country, a free region, and we accept different opinions.
Absolutely.
So the point is very simple. What you are saying about automotive industry is actually not an automotive industry problem. It is the problem of a European society which has created what we call the social model that is so expensive that structurally you cannot be competitive with the social model of China. You see it on the automotive world, but you can see it on other manufactured goods also than just the automotive world. So we have a problem, a dual problem in Europe, which is our society model is not competitive against the rest of the world, and it's now very visible. And at the same time, our competitors, Asian and China, are using their 30% cost competitive edge to expand their exports because they need to be using their capacities that they have already invested. So, in fact, we have to answer two questions. The first question for the Europeans is, do you want to compete? The question is, you guys, you the Europeans, you want to compete. You want to race. If you want to race, then race hard. It's not going to be easy, but you can try to race. So are we a competitive region of the world, or are we becoming a lazy region of the world? Do we want to compete with China, or we don't want to compete? Now, everybody would say, but they have subsidies and it's unfair competition, blah, blah, blah. That's not true. They have their kind of subsidies. We have our kinds of subsidies. We have different kinds of subsidies, but they have theirs. At the end of the day, this is still an open world, and I understand that Europe wants to keep it reasonably open, even though we have been very naive. But so the first question is, do we want to compete? And what I have observed in the automotive industry in Spain is that there are competitive people in Spain. They want to compete. But competing is hard. Competing may mean more hard work.
Suffering a bit,
yeah, it's like if you want to be champion in sports, the training is not necessarily very, very easy, right? You are going to suffer during the trainings, right? Yeah, you may suffer if you are very competitive in soccer or basketball. Absolutely. Or athleticism, whatever it is. If you want to train hard to become a champion, you may suffer during the trainings. This is the same. So we have to decide, the Europeans, if you want to compete or you don't want to compete. And then the second thing is, yes, the guys are doing a better job than we are. We may need a transient protection if we are sincere about ramping up our competitive spirit so that we don't get killed immediately by the gap of competitiveness. But what we are seeing, this gap of competitiveness, is what triggered the tariffs of the United States of America. The United States of America is a place that is uncompetitive for manufactured goods. They are very competitive for digital. That's fine. They are the best of the world. But for the manufactured goods, they are uncompetitive in cost and quality. So as they are uncompetitive, they are trying to protect themselves from imports with the tariffs because they just can't export. So our question is the same. how do we become naturally competitive for exports instead of being, of course, just accepting that we need to have tariffs forever, and the tariffs, as you said, always have side effects which are negative. So at the end of the day, the question is, do we want to compete?
Do we really want, and then strategize on that? Really, last one, which is about autonomous vehicles. We have seen, again, US and China very competitive with autonomous vehicles. Now it seems that it starts to come to Europe. Do you think Europe can have a position in automotive vehicles supply chain based on our strengths?
It depends on one single factor. Again, maybe controversial. I was discussing with one of the people here in this World of Mobility conference, showing one vertical takeoff and vertical landing aircraft. Mm-hmm. And I know that it is difficult to certify this kind of aircraft. I was asking him, how many years do you need to certify this vertical landing and a vertical takeoff airplane, which is already homologated in China? And the answer was 5 years. So autonomous vehicle is the same. Do you think that with the current structure of our governance, with the political leaders that have lost the control of their administrations, do you think that we can certify autonomous vehicles in a reasonable time that will not impact our ability to race? Because if we take 5 years to just certify, then how can you race?
The technology is ready, no? The technology.
So imagine you are on the grid and all the other guys start the race, and your administration says, no, you stay here for 3 laps and you'll start racing in 3 laps when I will have certified you.
You have all the paperwork, but you have lost already.
So that's the problem. And we have a big issue in Europe, very big issue, which is political leaders that we can easily criticize. I don't, because we need them. They have lost control of the administrations. And the administrations have the power of creating bureaucracy, the power of putting stamps, the power which we did not give them to just say, yeah, you know we don't. That's not exactly true. That's not exactly true. And as long as the political leaders are accepting the idea that they have no control on the administrations, we will be kept on the ground while all the other guys will be flying. And that's a problem for us.
Really, really interesting. Thanks a lot, Carlos.
My pleasure.
Giving your insights. Have a great rest of the show.
Thank you.